It's just how stupid Biden truly is. He thinks that his pretend support of the Palestinian people is going to trick Americans back into voting for him, while at the same time he gives as much money and arms to the Israeli government, who is committing genocide against the Palestinian people, as well as creating and expanding the illegal settlements in the West Bank, which is illegal under international law. Like, I mean, I understand Biden is like almost 100 and he's developing dementia and becoming stupid, but does he truly believe that everybody else is this stupid as well?
State of the Union address, President Biden reiterated his support for Israel's mission to eliminate Hamas in Gaza. But he also said Israel has a responsibility to protect innocent civilians and warned Netanyahu's government that humanitarian aid cannot be, quote, a bargaining chip. The president
Yeah, but humanitarian aid has always been a bargaining chip for the Israeli government. That's why they love to prevent aid from into Gaza. And Biden knows this, yet he wants to pretend that him criticizing like the Israeli government and stuff like means anything when he's continually giving them money and arms.
The president also announced plans to create a temporary port on Gaza's coast to help increase the flow of aid into that enclave. Chris Livesay has been following all of this from Jerusalem. So, Chris, my question to you is, what stood out the most to you with the address last night?
Hey, Anne-Marie. Yeah, well, what really stood out to me the most were the applause lines when he talked about Gaza. Now, President Biden started by reiterating that Israel had the right to defend itself when it was the victim of that grisly massacre by Hamas on October 7th.
Okay, so yeah, nobody denies that the Israeli government has the right to self-defense. All nations have the right. Groups of people have the right to self-defense, but uh, the criticizing of Israel isn't over them defending themselves against people. It's the Israeli government murdering innocent civilians. I hate when these Democrats constantly claim that the Israeli government is just trying to exercise its right to self-defense when it's obviously that's not what it's doing. The Israeli government is not defending itself when it airstrikes hospital, UN shelters, schools, and residential areas, nor is it self-defense when the IDF goes into the West Bank and raids various Palestinian houses and Israeli terror sellers go out and kill people. Like, come on. The entire world uh, has awakened to what the Israeli government is actually doing and what they actually stand for. And no matter what lies Biden tells, it's not going to work.
But what really got progressives to get up out of their chairs and applaud, progressives who have been extremely critical of Biden's support of Israel in its war effort, was when he said that Israel also had the responsibility to protect civilian lives on the ground in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, but is the Israeli government doing that? No, because what happened like a week ago? The Israeli government shot upon a group of Palestinians trying to get food from an aid convoy. Uh, what, 100 people died? 750 people were injured? The Israeli government has admitted that the IDF shot upon people?
For the leadership of Israel, I say this. Humanitarian assistance cannot be a secondary consideration or a bargaining chip. Protecting and saving innocent lives has to be a priority. As we look to the future, the only real solution.
I mean, the IDF isn't even willing to protect and save like Israeli hostages. Uh, what? There was 3 Israeli shot by the IDF when they were asking for help after they escaped Hamas. There was a 3 Israeli hostages that were killed in an airstrike, while 2 others were saved. And then there was like a group of 10 hostages that were killed by an Israeli airstrike. Um, and the Israeli government knew that hostages were in that building and still did an airstrike. So, if the Israeli government doesn't care about its own civilians, why are they going to care about the civilians of a different group? I mean, the Israeli government is even willing to label their own people as traitors and jail them just for not joining the IDF or just criticizing the Israeli government for their genocide.
To the situation is a two-state solution over time.
Okay, Biden just said that the solution to peace is a two-state solution. So why then do you support the Israeli government who only supports a one state, the Israeli state? That is, Biden, come on. If you want to actually be honest and truthful, you wouldn't continually lie here.
Now, the key phrase that you may have missed at the end there was over time. The Biden administration has been insisting on a two-state solution, not just for the Palestinians, but also for the long-term security interests of the Israelis. But just considering the conflict, the tensions, political and otherwise, it just doesn't seem like something that's going to happen overnight. The president also
I mean, if Biden truly supported a two-state solution, he wouldn't be defending the Israeli government so hard as he does, claiming that every single thing that they do is like self-defense. And then he would also support the Palestinian Authority and the West Bank that government does want a two-state solution. But does he support the Palestinian Authority? It does not seem like it, because he says barely anything about the IDF and the Israeli government raiding people in the West Bank and creating more illegal settlements, which is illegal under international law. So anybody who claims that the Israeli government is actually following international law is outright lying, because they haven't been with all these illegal settlements that the Israeli government funds.
also announced the construction of a temporary humanitarian bridge, a temporary humanitarian pier right off the coast of the Gaza Strip, and that the U.S. military would oversee that. He emphasized that that does not mean U.S. boots on the ground, but it would mean critical aid coming to people who
Okay, so what is the United States going to do once the Israeli government bombs the pier, claiming that Hamas is controlling or that there's underground tunnels underneath this pier, so they have to bomb it, or whatever other excuse they want to create?
so desperately needed, who, as we speak, some of whom are literally dying of starvation. So we're talking about water, food, medicine, and shelter.
Just remember, the same guy that is supporting the Israeli government, who is starving Palestinians, claims he cares about the Palestinians. The people that are being starved by the Israeli government is being supported by Biden. The Israeli government is starving Palestinians, and Biden supports the Israeli government doing that. We cannot forget that. He wants to claim that he's a good guy and he supports human rights and stuff like that, but how can you actually support, uh, people not being starved to death when you're funding the person starving people to death? That's like claiming to be against, uh, gun violence while uh, actively giving guns to people are murdering people. It would make no sense whatsoever.
However, what he didn't mention is just how long it's going to take to build something like this. It needs to be shipped in, but that ship is currently in.
It's supposed to be like 45 to 60 days, which is relatively a long time when you're dealing with war and the Israeli government is massively murdering tons of people on the daily basis.
Virginia, that means crossing the Atlantic, crossing the Mediterranean. When it's all said and done, Anne Marie, it's going to be at